Here again, and I'm just so excited. It's me and my girl Alicia today. I
Yeah,
guess the men
the
got
guys,
tired of
the guys dropped us. They dropped us off. That's okay. We're gonna keep it
We're
going.
going to keep it going. So I want to say thank you to all of you that have joined us this morning on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're joining from. We say welcome, welcome, welcome. We are excited to continue our topic on forgiveness. I want to say welcome to LKM, Leslie's Kingdom Living, which I just said all wrong, but Leslie's Lessons Learned is where we belong. I got that right. So I want to say welcome this morning. It's been a challenging morning, and my equipment wasn't working, so it took us a few minutes to get on. Something about social media and equipment when it's time to go live, something always wants to go wrong. But I want to say welcome this morning. Now we are truly excited. I'm going to ask you if you would just like, if you would share, and if you would just subscribe so you'll know when we come live. And I want to say to those of you that looked in the mirror this morning and said, is life worth living? I challenge you to look back in that mirror, and I promise you, you'll hear, yes, it is. Because if you're asking that question, then you already know the answer. And I don't want you to give up. You are unique. You are a product of Yahweh. You are a product of His creation, and you are here for a purpose. And your purpose, even if now that you're here, your destiny has not been fulfilled. And sometimes we get uneasy because we don't know what the destiny is. We don't know where we belong and what we're doing. And so many things come up against us. So many things come, try to attack us and make us think that we're just worthless. And I want you to know today you're not. I want you to know that you are unique, that you are beautifully made, and that you are a product of the one that created you. So yes, you have a purpose, you have a destiny, but your destiny also has a purpose. And I want you to know you've got to get there. You've got to press past how you feel and press past what you think and begin to see things the way they really are. So welcome, as I said before. This is LKM Kingdom Living, Leslie's Lessons Learned. And I'm so excited to have Alicia still with me. And we grinding and we grinding and we grinding. And just so grateful that we're here. So, Alicia, we've been talking about forgiveness and we've talked about all aspects of it. We've had Mike on and who has caused the conversation to go to another level. We've had Apostle on that causes the conversation to go to another level. And I'm just excited that we're here,
Amen.
that I didn't give up, that I
Amen.
didn't say, never mind,
Amen.
but because of making the choice to say yes. And you know that we have a conference coming up, and the conference is a yes conference. What made you say yes? So I want to say to everybody today that I am here because I said yes again to what I have been created to do. Alicia, I was thinking about the words we speak,
Mm.
uh, e- even when we ask for forgiveness, even when we don't see things happening, and how we can hinder what's taking place because of our words. We can cause our words not to be effective. And that's what I want to talk about a little today is even with you and how you said that you had to change your mind. You had to change your thought pattern. You had to change the words that came out of your mouth.
Amen.
And I'm going to let you, I didn't even let you introduce yourself. I kind of said who you are.
Okay, that's fine. If people have been here for a minute, I'm Alicia Johnson, the creator of the 1212 community, and I'm just happy to be a part of this. So thank you so much, Leslie, for
Yeah,
having me on again, again. So if y'all
I
don't see me,
appreciate
if
it.
y'all don't see me one Sunday, that means she done kicked me off. She done moved
I
on to
did.
somebody else. But I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Well, the truth of it is that she has a full schedule, just like Apostle and Mike. And if you see me by myself, it's because they can't be on. So that's the real truth. So, I was thinking about just the fact that, um, oh, how I said in the beginning when the first show we came on, my image, your image, and does it look like God's image? And we started talking about that. And then uh, the Spirit gave us a twist. And then he said he wanted us to talk about forgiveness. And the thing about forgiveness, and this is what he was showing me today, he was showing me that the bloodline, we talk about the bloodline, but there's things that cause the blood to be what the blood is.
Mm.
And part of our relationship is knowing that understanding is a part of what makes us thrive, that forgiveness is a part of what makes us thrive. And without forgiveness, we don't have the full product of what we need to function in the kingdom. And I'm very sincere about us understanding that we need to function in the kingdom, that we need to change our mindset. We're so churchy, and we've been churchy for years. And the church doesn't make us, the kingdom is what's on the inside of us. And we have to begin to see things in the way that Yahweh sees it. So I want to welcome everybody that's on, and I want to give Alicia a moment to talk about, because her ministry is the 12-12 community, 12 hours for God and 12 hours for man. And she is very much a stickler on forgiveness. She's very much a stickler on us realizing that sometimes things don't go right because something in our lives we have not, or someone we have not forgiven, or maybe ourselves. I talk about, forgiving your brothers, forgiving your sisters, forgiving your husband, forgiving yourself. These are all byproducts of our thriving, our lives coming to a new place, or coming to a place almost like a climax. I'm going to say almost like a climax, that forgiveness causes us the opportunity to grow and live. So, can you talk a few minutes about what that looks like
Mhm.
to you?
Mhm. And forgiveness, and this was something that I personally had to learn. And I don't teach anything that I haven't been through myself. And that's one of the things that I'm a big proponent of, that you can only take people as deeply as you yourself have gone. And for me, I was one of those people that it felt like there was always a block in front of me, always a ceiling, I always felt boxed in somehow. And I would look at people in the world, and this is where the comparison piece would come in for me. And there's no competition in God's economy, but there's plenty of competition in the world. And so I would compare myself to people in the world. Well, how are they able to do it? I know what they do, and I know how they act, and I know, and you want to compare your godly relationship against worldly standards, and it's not going to work. I don't care what measuring stick you use, it's never going to add up. And so that was one thing that I had to do, was to just stop comparing my godly requirements to the world, because you're going to miss it all the time. Because what the world requires is not what God requires, and what God requires, the world doesn't care about it.
So you need to say that again.
Okay, what I say? No, what the world requires is different than what God requires, and what God requires, the world doesn't care about it. The world doesn't care. And so for me, this is where you have to understand, this is when I started to really understand the Bible. From this, you have to read the Bible for yourself. And this is where I was going wrong, was because I was going to all sorts of Bible studies, and I was doing all of these things, but I was getting other people's interpretation. I was listening to what other people's experiences were. And God was like, no, 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 no. You need to sit down and read the Bible for yourself and let me speak to you through it. Like, let my words fall on you. Let my words saturate your heart. And so when I started to open my eyes and allow heaven to guide me through the Bible, it was every instruction I ever needed in a way that I understood it. And this is where a lot of people miss it, because we're consistently going to people that don't know our situations, don't know the truth of who God has created us to be, but it's a generic Bible study. And it was so funny when God was like, that's not what you need at this point in your life. I don't end up, because it's like in Bible study in traditional churches, they have their set study guide, and what we'll be reading through the book of this month, and we'll be doing this, and I was like, you don't need that. It don't matter who was cousins with who in the Bible. It don't matter who begot. You need some meat. You need to know how to apply this to your life. And so that was the thing that really got me going, is that I had to read the Bible because I was fighting for my life. I was fighting for my life. I was fighting for my marriage. I was fighting for my kids. I was fighting for my fight. I was just fighting for everything. And so it was then that's when the Bible started to come to life for me. And one of the things I kept seeing, a recurring thing for me, was that whole forgiveness piece. Like, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. The one where you know the Bible as far as like passages and stuff better than me, but it was the one where there was a person going to give their offering, and it stumped me, because we're like taught to tithe and to give and to do this, but it was like, if you go and you give, this is the Alicia Johnson Always Journal 12:12 version, okay? So don't be, y'all read it for yourself. But this is what God gave me. So you got your offering, and you're going and you're taking it to the altar. But it's like in Monopoly, do not pass go, do not collect your $200, if you get to that altar and there you remember that there's an offense, or someone has something against you, or basically you have something against someone else, stop right there and go back and heal that thing. And then your offering will be acceptable. That floored me. That opened me up so much. God was like, this is why you have the ceiling. This is why you have the block. This is why you feel like you're boxed in. Because you're giving. Oh, I would give. I would keep a list. I gave here, I gave, because you get that, you hear that thing where you give and you get it back. You know how that was back in when marketing, when the world gets a hold of something, but you get it and it's gonna come back pressed down, shaking together and running over. It's gonna multiply like a gazillion times. And I'll be like, oh, I put in $200. When did I get back my, $2,000? I put in my $300. When did I get this back? Like, you put it in like you at a casino.
Right.
And I was getting pretty upset, because I was keeping track of my giving. I was keeping track of my tithes and my offerings. Because you give the tithe and then you give the offering above and beyond. And you just, God was like, I'm not a piggy bank. I am not a genie in a lamp. God was like, there are standards and requirements for this. I was like, oh my. So I had to check myself. God was like, it's not that the principle doesn't work. There are conditions to this thing. You're not meeting the requirements. How many times have you given and you mad with somebody? I was like, pretty much every time. I'm mad with everybody all the time. I was probably mad with somebody at the church that I gave the money to. I know this money better get where it's going. I put it in your hand. I know it better make it to.
Yes.
It was sad. It was sad. And that's when I had to start working forgiveness for myself. And once I started to make a list, literally a list of every grievance I had. Every grievance. And then God was like, balance out this list. Who's mad with you? See, a lot of times we want to think about all of the people who have offended us.
Right.
And how I've been wrong.
Right.
And God was like, you have offended. And the list of people that I had offended was much longer than the list of the people who had offended me.
And that's so true. That's so true. We are self-righteous. We are self-righteous Christians. That's what the Father told me. He says we're self-righteous. We always want to look at somebody else and turn our nose up like we got it all together, and we don't. We don't have it all together. We don't. I mean, the first 5 books of the Bible is clearly tells us how the instruction. You're talking about the instructions of forgiveness, and we're not getting off of forgiveness, but the first 5 books clearly shows us the instructions. The world calls it the laws, but it's just the instructions. Help us how to live. Help us how to assume or help us how to gracefully come into a relationship with Elohim, how to gracefully live the pattern of instructions that he has given us. And an important thing of that is that we have to remember, we want to say, we want to be like Jesus, we want to do what Jesus, one of the most important thing he took to the cross was unforgiveness. He forgave on the cross, and that's something that we as Christians forget about. We always look at, and you know what, it is, I'm saying Christians, it is the way that the world has taught us. We don't live according to the word, like you said, so you had to break away. We live according to the way that the world instructs us, the way that the world has shown. I promise you, I say this all the time. David, and that passage is so dynamic, but he began to talk about where he came from. And it was like he said, and when you get into it, it's really awesome. He said, I was created. He was like, Father, I was born into this world, and this world shaped me. This is just a short version.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, a lot of the mistakes and stuff I make is because I was already developed. We are developed according to the religious sector, I'm going to say. We are a byproduct, not of Yahweh. We're working on it, trying to get there, of the world. And one of the things that he says, he tells us that through his word, through the instructions, is when we become not like the world, is when we become like him.
Mm-hmm.
And, people always quote, I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world. Well, if you are still unforgiven,
Mm-hmm.
if you're still not following the oracles of Elohim, you are not in God.
Mm-hmm.
If you are still doing your own thing, your own way, if you're not taking the time to come into a relationship to build upon the word that causes you to live and not die and declare the works of the Lord, then there's an issue.
Amen.
And most of us are on oxygen tanks and don't even realize it because we don't have the support of the word. We don't have the support of God. So I get and I understand when you're talking about, he was like, you need to pull away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You need to know me.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you started knowing him, then he said, now this I need you to do.
Mm-hmm.
and he begins to instruct us. You know, people say, oh, the Bible, the word does not contradict itself. It's the lack of knowledge that makes us think it does, because somebody else has said it. And
Mhm.
because somebody else has said it, we think we're supposed to say it. Why? It's an excuse. We
Mhm.
make plenty of excuses. We have excuses why not to spend time with them. Oh, we're too busy. I'll do it later. I'm just going off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No, I get no. You are so right, and
Go
that's
ahead.
the thing that we have to understand is that when we get into the word for ourselves and God begins to walk us through, the scales fall from your eyes. You begin, and I'm at the point now where I have had such an experience with God, such an experience with heaven, that there's no deacon, no rabbi, no mother of the church. There is nobody on this planet that can separate me from how God is teaching me, how God is guiding me through this process, because God from day one has not misled me one time, not even a half of a step. My doubt and my uncertainty may make me think that God doesn't know what God is doing. But if I don't give up and I see it through to the end, I will see that God understood everything the entire time. And God was trying to catch me up. And that's where a lot of us miss it. And when God, I've learned more about God through strippers and drug dealers. I really have. Like some of my girl in college and stuff, some of my best my best friends, some of my closest friends were like strippers. And their hearts were so pure. It was just so fascinating because a lot of times we look at people in certain situations and we just automatically look down on them because of what they're doing. And God was like, you have no idea why she's doing what she's doing. You have no idea what her assignment. You have no idea. So
That's
stop
the
judging.
self-righteous part of us.
That's selfish. And I never forget this one day I had gotten to work early. I was a waitress. And there were 3 clubs together. So we were waiting actually for the doors to open up to the club that we worked in. And so I was standing out there, and God had obviously placed me there at that time because I was never early for anything. So I got there early for my shift. So I saw this little girl. She was about 17, 18. She got out of her car on one, she was on the passenger side, and then a lady got out of the driver's side. It was her mother. And her mother was like, come on in here so I can sign this paper so you can dance. I said, what? Her mother was signing her up so she could be a stripper. God was like, so don't you ever stand in judgment of anybody ever again. This child is under her mother's authority. So she's doing what her mother is requiring her to do. This is not this child's fault. See, a lot of times we want to place blame on people. They should have known better. They should have done this. That you don't know. And that's that day when that just opened me up. I remember seeing so many young ladies who did not have, and this is why this work for me is so important, and I'm passionate about it, because a lot of these ladies just didn't know who they were. They didn't understand the truth of who God had created them to be.
Right.
I witnessed women who were beautiful, smart, intelligent, quick. I mean, just full of life and joy. And they would get on that stage for about 2 or 3 months, and then they're heroin addicts. One young lady, I never forget, she came up to me, and we worked, it was 3 clubs in one. I worked in the strip club, but I was not a stripper. I worked there just to fill in. And because when the owner asked me one time, he said, will you work downstairs? I was like, the tips were good. Now, don't get me wrong, the tips were good. And I said, yeah, I worked down there. I went down there, I had on shorts and a t-shirt, and all of the cooks upstairs heard that I was gonna be working, right? Wasn't no food getting done because they all came down because they thought, and they came down, they were like, what you got on shorts and a t? I said, I'm working for the tips, honey. I ain't working for the so funny. I was like, yeah, no, you're not getting that. And it was hilarious to me because in those 3 clubs, God showed me all of life. And the strip club was in the basement. The family restaurant was in the middle, and the comedy club was on top. So it was 3 levels. And we would go from level to level. And one of the young ladies, and God had put me in a position that was so interesting because I was able to work all 3 clubs. And I was also the reservationist. So actually, I was getting like a full paycheck. And I was getting tips in addition to, I was making bank. And some of the waitresses, they were upset with that because it wasn't fair, but favor ain't fair. I'm like, look, yeah, hey, it is what it is. But
no, favor is fair.
Favor is fair. Favor is fair. Favor is fair. Let me change that. Favor is fair. I am favored. Anyway, so the reason I'm sharing this story is because I realized at this point in my life that God placed me in that scenario, in that position, so that I could understand how true and valuable this work is that I do today. Had I had the information that I had then, or had someone had the information, or had someone shared the information with these ladies at any point in time, it may have saved one of their lives. And this is why it's so important that you understand the assignment that God has given you. A lot of times people are running from their assignments, hiding from their assignments, putting their assignments off. How many people were given the assignment to possibly talk to one of these women and they put it off? How many times were people given the assignment to do something or work with certain people and it just didn't look right? I've heard so many times, I've heard this from ministers, I've heard this from people in ministry. I can't go into that club. I'm a minister. What are people gonna think? What is God gonna think when God sent you to the club and you didn't go? Mm-hmm. And the one story that really, it wasn't a story, this was real life. The one that really just floored me. I worked with this young lady, and she had really blonde, like naturally blonde hair. I mean, she looked like a baby doll. It was crazy. But she had been in the military, and you could tell she had suffered like some PTSD and some things like that. And she had some issues, but she was working, she was waitressing, she had marriage, she was trying. And she came up to me one day, and we were in the serving area, like where the dumb waiter and all of those things are, waiting for the food to come down. And we were standing there. And she looked at me. She said, "How do you do it?" I said, "What? What do you mean? How do you do it?" She's like, "You just let things just roll off your back like water on a duck's back. I mean, it just rolls off. Like you were in waitressing, you get all kinds of people. You get drunk people, you get mean people, you get everything. You get nice people. It's just all of life comes in. Waitressing is probably one of the most humbling jobs you'll ever have." And she would take all of these things personally. And it was tearing her down. And she's like, "How do you do this all the time?" She said, "You're always laughing. You're always smiling." I was like, they're not talking to me. People are coming in. People say something to you and they just met you. They don't know you. How are you going to take that personally? They don't know you. Ask them some pointed questions. What's my last name? Who's my mama? Where do I live? What's my favorite color? You don't know me. Keep moving. I know more about you than you know about me. I know that you're a jerk. I know that you're not a nice person. I know that this person, you learn to read a lot of signs when you're in a club. You learn to read a lot of, because you look out for certain things. You see certain things. I'm like, yeah, that person shouldn't be with that person. That person's married. That person's cheating. You get to see it all. You can tell by the eyes. You can tell by the body movement. You can tell when people are up to no good.
Oh, yeah.
And that was such a lesson for me. And I would feel so bad for people, men that would come in day after day. He ain't happy at home. He ain't happy. Anytime you got to come in every night and get a few drinks before you leave to get to the house, something ain't right. It was, anyway, that's a sidebar, but she she came to me and said that. And so she eventually went downstairs and started stripping, and she, you know, I lost contact with her after a while, but about a year or so later, I rarely read the paper, but this one day God was like, pay attention to how God moves you. So I picked up a Sunday paper, and it was like the section of the paper where they have like the editorials and the whatever, the, you know, like the main stories of the stories of interest. And God was like, read this. And I was like, read this, and I read it. And the writer had written a story about this girl. He talked about her blonde hair, and she had such a unique name. She had such a beautiful spirit. And he was just talking about how he had crossed paths with her, and she had affected his life because she was so sweet, but she was tormented inside. And that she had taken her life because she had jumped off a building on 14th Street in DC and killed herself. It was that young lady that stood next to me in the dumbwaiter and asked me, how do you do it? She couldn't do it. That floored me.
Yeah.
That day changed my life in ways I can't even imagine. And I made a promise I was like, God, if you show me how to help people, I'll do it. I don't know what to do. And that's how this work has evolved over the course of time. So everybody, this is why I get excited, and this is why I consistently teach. Pay attention to everything and everyone who crosses your path. Because if they've crossed your path, God has sent them. And if God has sent them, then there is something for you to do. So stop being so arrogant. And this bugs me to no end. I've had several people that I've worked with over the years and things like that, and people miss opportunities to bless people because we hear things from the world. If it don't make money, it don't make sense. You don't need to be involving yourself with anything that ain't gonna turn, it's not gonna turn into something for you. What's in it for you? You need to pay. It's got to be a win-win for everybody.
Selfish.
That's not how God's economy works, y'all. The only thing God requires of me, God says for me to ask, what's in this for God? God said, if you have to ask that question, then ask it this way. God said, ask what is in it for me, meaning what's in it for God.
For him.
What's in it for the kingdom? God said, you'll get what you need eventually. This is how so many people miss the opportunity to operate in their assignment, to operate what's in their hands. And it's so frustrating because so many powerful people have crossed my path. And God shows me each and every person that crosses my path, God shows me who they are. But see, it is not my responsibility to live your life for you. My responsibility is to make it such that you are able to do what it is that you need to do.
Oh, you talking to me now?
Oh, in general. But hey, if the shoe fits. But it is when God shows me who people are, it's so exciting to me. I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. God's like, shh, but don't tell them. Don't tell them. Because it's not my responsibility to reveal the secrets of God to you. That's your responsibility to hear what God has to say to you. I can't carry that burden. There's so many powerful people. I mean, I've seen so many people that have passed through this work, and oh my gosh, I'm like, just don't give up. Don't stop. And people get mad, and people stop because of unforgiveness. They stop their entire vision because they mad with their mama and they don't want to let it go.
That's right.
I can't do this right now because my uncle, he did this. Your uncle dead. Your uncle is dead, and your uncle has taken your vision with it. So your uncle's dead and your vision's dead. So you just gonna live dead until you die? I mean, what? This is crazy. Everyone who crosses my path, this is why I get so excited. This is why I constantly talk about relationships over funnels. God sends people across my path so that I can see who they are. I know in this community, I know for a fact that people that have crossed my path, oh my God. And when I see them fall off the wayside and all of those things, there's another one. There's another one that could have been used mightily for the kingdom. And I promise you, you would have gotten everything that you needed to get had you not given up. Sure, you can pick it back up. Sure, you can go back and start. But there's nothing like doing it at the time that heaven tells you to do it, because everything that you need is lined up at that moment. Make the phone call now.
Obedience.
Make the phone call later. But radical obedience. People are missing it because they mad at people.
Yes.
I can't forget him.
And what they gonna say?
What they gonna say?
Act. That's not how they act or how they respond is now our responsibility.
It's not. I don't care. I did my part. Look, whether you accept it or not.
Right. And it's also important that you're talking about that, because it's also important that we understand that whatever their opinion is cannot stop you from doing what you have been assigned to do.
Woo!
You know, when I think about your story, you had to work in that strip club. You had to learn how people operate. It was a part of your training process. You didn't know you was going to be here. You didn't know 1212 was going to exist. You went in there for the bank.
I sure did. My sister, this is a sidebar. I used to come home at night, right? And so I would try to cash out as much. The money was nasty, okay? But I would come home with knots. I mean, it was, my sister's like, if I didn't know you waitress, I would think you were like dealing drugs. She's like, this don't look good. I mean, I would have so much cash. I would just put it in my closet. She was like, I hope nobody comes here. It was crazy. I hope don't nobody work for the IRS on here. Yes, I reported it all. Thank you. Hallelujah. Yes.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
Yeah. But when you think about it, yeah, how would you know? And I can relate, but how would you know how to forgive somebody or how to accept them for who they were and how they were, unless you was actually in the experience to understand who they were? Unless you had a mindset that to go, you went in there, you still had compassion. You still was learning. You still was grasping things. You was appreciate them for who they were. And I'm not gonna say the kingdom, in the church realm, in our Christianity, we have not learned that. And guess what? We came from somewhere as well. Somebody listening was a dancer. Somebody listening was an alcoholic, but now they're saved. Somebody listening had to do something because that's what their parents required them to do, not their heart.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You don't know. This is why I just love people where they are. I don't care where you are. God can find you. God found me. And the funny part is that God has accounted for all of your missteps, all of your mistakes, everything. And that's the part that baffles me, is how afraid people are to make a mistake. On earth as it is in heaven, for everything in the natural, there's a parallel and corresponding occurrence in the supernatural. Let me free somebody. Let me free somebody real good today. The mistake has already been made in heaven. You're just bringing it to earth. On earth as it is in heaven. So we have to understand that there is a travel time. So by the time you have thought a thing, it's already happened in heaven. So your mind is the bridge between heaven and earth. Now, whether or not you bring it into physical manifestation, that's another level. But the fact that you've just thought about it, it has already existed. So this is why as a man thinketh or as a woman thinketh in his or her heart, that's an indicator it's already happened. I cheated on my husband well before I cheated on earth.
Right.
Now the physical manifestation is what solidifies it. That's the nail in the cross. But it doesn't exempt you from the thoughts that you've had. So we talk about forgiveness. We want to talk about the forgiveness of the things that we have done in the natural. God is talking about forgiveness of the things that you have already committed in your mind. So forgiveness is an ever evolving and ever is a far-reaching work because everybody's mind ain't right. You know how many times I've cussed out my boss in my mind? I've never done it on earth, but in heaven, I've got some repenting to do. So people are like, I never did that. The fact that you can even form that thought in your mind, you did it, but you did it in heaven first. So don't come to me talking about I don't have anything to forgive. The fact that you had to actually run through that thing in your mind to determine whether or not you had something to forgive means that you got something to forgive. I ain't even had my coffee yet.
Look, I remember one of the things, and I think I talked about this before, but I was just thinking about this, how even with my husband, and at that time, a movie came out called A Time to Kill. And in my mind, every time I ride, it would fester. Every time I ride past it, I was like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And and guess what? All on the inside of me, I had it. He was going to be a goner. He was going to be a goner. I was going to be after him because he was abusive.
Right.
And the things that he did and the way he did things. And one day I came in the house and I went to pray. And I said, Father, you got to help me because this is not right. And I fell on my knees. He never knew that I was going to kill him. But it was up here.
Y'all, we could be watching Miss Leslie go snap. We could have a 12-12 community. We could be saying movie night, Leslie Montgomery, A Time to Kill.
Look, between the two of us, there were some real issues going on.
And I used to do prison ministry. And I wasn't doing prison ministry to be all righteous. I was doing prison ministry to see where I could have ended up. I would sit there and the women, it was hilarious because I couldn't even believe I said it one day. I was like, look, y'all got caught. I was like,
that's the only difference. Look,
y'all got, but
to be saved and not to be saved is a thin line. You know that song that used to say it's a thin line between love and hate?
But see,
salvation.
And I would ask the women, we would have these kind of questions once I got the right group. Like I couldn't have these talk. Like once I got my little core group, it's some hard. I'll be trying to, and they're not going to tell you. Some of them will tell you why they in there, but I'll be asking like, what they in here for? Like they're in hardened criminals in here? Because I wanted to research. What's her name? You know, I would want to research people so I know who was who, but that was the petty me. But anyway, so I would get in there and I would ask the women because I was curious. Because God always offers a way of escape. It wasn't that I was so good that I didn't get caught. It's just that I stopped in enough time. And so I asked the women, I was like, how many times did you do this before you got caught? And how many times did God tell you to stop doing it before you got caught? Like this one girl, she was like, if I had stopped the time before this one, I wouldn't even been in here. Because God kept telling me, don't go, don't do
warnings.
This. Warnings. Each and every person. It wasn't isolated. It wasn't like one person. It was each and every one of them. I said, when did you know to stop? But you didn't. And they were just sitting there like, I said, that was your way of escape. You chose this path.
That goes back to that radical obedience, something we overlook, you know, and yeah, it could have been us. We just didn't get caught.
Easily. I just stopped when God was like, look, you got one more time. Okay, Lord, I'm done. I am done. I can't hang out with y'all no more. I can't. You know how many parties I tried to go to that got raided before I got there? How many? I was trying. And I know the prayers of my big mom and my aunties and all of them were over me because I was trying to get in trouble. And I like the bad boys. I like the one, it was just.
Oh, yeah. Look, I have a story about that one right there too, but I'm not going to go into it today. Liking them bad boys. Why is it we think that they the ones that got it going on? You know,
I'm tiny, and you're tiny too. Okay, so I would get the guy, the big ones, the crazy ones, and they can like scoop you up and just, it was just fun. It was fun. I mean, you just. The movie, I was a legend in my own mind, okay?
You're making my side hurt. These comics is funny. We don't have to bring Minister Wanda on here.
I was a legend in my own mind, but it was just like, my sister just be looking at me like, oh my God, what is wrong with you have people with the one names, this JoJo, this such and such, my sister's like, do they not come with last names? I mean, where do they come from? I don't understand their occupations. And my sister came in one day and she knocked on my door. She was like, there's a Pookie in my living room.
A Pookie? Don't tell me with the Pookies.
And yes, and he has his feet on my coffee table. I was cracking up. It's like, and my sister's Miss Ivy League, she was like, no, ma'am. I was like, come on, we gotta go. It was awful. It was, oh my God has been good to me. Okay, I have lived to tell. Yes, the pharmaceutical engineer.
Well, I didn't even talk about that part. But wait, I want to go back to the present.
I'm sorry, Mike's gonna edit this whole thing. Y'all may not see.
We'll be on here next week.
Start saying Toogies and Mookies and.
I'd be like Mookie and now. Okay, I ain't messing with you. What's your name?
Oh my God.
Okay, somebody's probably out there saying, "Well,
that's what happened." See, my mama. That's why my mama put me. I went to a predominantly. See, it's not my fault. We talking about the little girl that her mama took into the strip joint. Well, my parents chose to send me to a predominantly white institution for high school. Okay,
it was not an institution.
It was an institution. It was an institution, and
all white schools.
I was the only African American female in the whole high school. And no, well, yeah, at the time I graduated, and I was one of five, black kids in the whole in the whole high school. So when I left, I chose college based on I want the most blackety is black chocolatey is chocolate school I can get. I knew absolutely nothing about sororities, fraternities. All I knew was what a different world and all of that show. That's when I went to school during that time. So that was the experience that I was going after. But see, that's how the world messes you up, because it looks fun on TV, but when you
TV. You got a culture shock.
the many deaths I could have died.
A culture shock. That's what
It
you
was.
had.
I was just like, this is crazy, but it was fun. It was crazy and fun all at the same time. But
Yeah, you
God
can
is good.
relate. We don't have that much time.
You're right.
Look, you made me forget what I was going to say. I wanted to talk about the blood, but real quick, I got to go back to.
It might have been some blood. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Liz. I'm done. Go ahead.
Wait, I want to go back to the prison because I was thinking about you went in there and you were investigating. I went in there self-righteous because we were going there to save.
Oh,
Not that we did anything wrong, we was on the other side. And I just thought about that, how I missed opportunities. I mean, I did talk to some of them. Well, back then when I went, we really weren't allowed to talk to them. We really weren't allowed to talk to them. So, on the way out the door, one of them might run up and we could say something to them, but we really weren't allowed to talk to them. But I just thought about really the mindset. I thought about that was a witness into. I always did things to witness. I even in my church, I had taken I was the outreach person and had taken classes to learn how to witness and stuff like that. But that does not help you with the experience of learning people. That just teaches you how to go out there and tell somebody else they need to be saved because they ain't saved. They need to come to Jesus because you're hanging on the corner.
Yeah.
And that's not what it's about. So when you was talking about, you went in and you were able to find out why they were in there and talk to them, and you had an opportunity to actually minister to them at some point.
Yeah, it was very humbling because you got to realize when they put you in prison, everybody's in there. I don't care if you could have a PhD or
Right.
GED.
It's just like on the streets.
Yeah.
Just like homeless. Homeless people. There's all types of homeless people out there. Everybody out there is not raggedy. Everybody out there is not just, they're not out there. Some of them, the best doctors, the best lawyers have lost their minds because of the pressure of life. And they're out there on the corner. They gave up everything. There's teachers out there. There's lawyers out there. There's mothers and fathers because they don't make enough money because society has squished everything out of them. And them and their children are on the street. My daughter was telling me about a guy yesterday in Philadelphia that found a bed, a full-size bed, headboard and all, that somebody was throwing out. And he had it literally on the street. He lives on the street underneath a bridge and he sleeps on a bed, not on the ground. He found this bed and he brought it back to the bridge, not to a home, to a bridge, to have at least a comfortable night's sleep. He probably don't even have sheets and stuff, but he has a bed. We are so out of tune with the world. And when I say that, I'm talking about out of tune for what our purpose is in life as being kingdom buildings. No, we're not supposed to go around here badgering people and tell them you need to get saved. And well, my daughters will probably say, well, you need to work on that, because I've been telling them, you need to change what you're doing. Or I told my other daughter the other day, you're going the wrong direction, so they probably would have a different say so about that. But the process that we have been taught in the church, how to win souls, is the wrong posture. We can win souls, more souls, by being a witness of how we live our lives than we can verbally trying to get somebody. When I first got saved back in the day, we were saving everybody. Here's a tract. Here, you want to say the prayer? That we was going around, we was just witnessing everybody. And my daughter was telling me the other day, she said, my grandma still give out tracts. She give them out at the toll booth. She give them out at the restaurant. But the effects of our lifestyle, the effects of the aroma, the scent of the spirit, the scent of Elohim that draws the people. We can do all that. And then they go back out in the world. When I first got saved, I was saved in the Jesus only church. That means, and when I first went there, and I'm getting ready to close it off because you got to go. But
go ahead. No, I'm good. I mean, go ahead. I'm not rushing.
Okay. I was saved in the Jesus only church. Well, I always went to church. I was one of those people that would take everybody in the neighborhood. And when I was young. I was like 15, 16, 17 years old. And sometimes we'd be running down the street to church because the dogs be chasing us, and we have our heels on and stuff, taking the neighbors to church. I would be in the church with my friends' children, and the children be climbing over the chair, and I'd be grabbing one by the arm and one underneath the leg. And I didn't even want a car. I wanted a station wagon. Back then, vans and trucks wasn't really that big. I wanted a station wagon so I could just collect people and take them to church. But that wasn't before I got saved.
No.
But even when I got saved, that was still me. That was still me. And the fact of the matter was, all these years, I thought it was verbally and not physically. And what I mean by that, a lifestyle. You have to live it. Action speaks louder than words. Just because you get somebody and they confess the Lord as their Savior does not mean they're going to stay saved. Because they have nothing to bank on. They have nothing to teach them. I told you about the experience. My first real experience with the Spirit, I didn't have anybody to teach me. And it was such a beautiful feeling and way of life, but I wasn't developed. So like I said, I used to sit at the window. How am I going all these places? Sit at the window, look out the window quietly. Wasn't moved by what anybody was doing. They would say, "You want to go outside?" I say, "No," And then one day, because I had nothing, no foundation, I end up going back to what I knew. Just because somebody confesses the Savior, if you don't lead them by the hand, show them a better way, they're just giving their life and not living it. They're not living, and I'm not saying that for everybody, but they're not living a beneficial life because they don't know how.
No.
So now we have a church full of people that just got saved.
And don't know what to do.
Don't know what to do, don't know where they're going, just going and steady confessing things and don't really know the word. But it's a scripture and I'm standing on it, but things is not happening. I'm, like you said, tithing and I'm keeping count of my tithes, but that nothing is happening. We got it twisted. We got it so twisted.
And that's the thing for me when doing prison ministry. It was God had me doing prison ministry at one of the lowest times in my life. And what God was showing me is that I thought I was there for them, but they were there for me. And I helped them in the sense that I allowed them to help me. And it was during the time when we were going through all of these things with our son. And the way things were going, he was going to be up in there. And they, see, this is the thing that we have to understand how beautiful God is. God put me in a place where those prayers broke through heaven. Because, see, they were praying from a place that they understood where he was getting ready to go. They were praying. See, it's different when you have people praying for you from a place that they don't understand. It's easy for you to pray for some. Oh, just let them get off the drugs. Just help them, Lord, to kill that craving. Just help them. Those are some flat prayers. Yeah. When you got somebody standing at the gate for you, who knows what it's like to be on the other side, and they don't want anybody else to have to experience that. Now, that's a different kind of prayer. I know for a fact that those prayers from those ladies and from those men are the prayers that helped us through. See, we're so used to praying antiseptic prayers. Praying the prayers that sound good. Praying the prayers that, oh, they sound so biblical. Oh, it sounds like, prayers that tickle the ears and prayers that you can have all of that. I want people who have been on drugs, who've gotten off drugs. Those are the people that I want to pray for me if I have a drug addiction. I don't need the mother of the church who has never had, what they say, like lips that touch swine have never touched mine. If I have a pork addiction, you can't pray for me because you don't know the power of the pork. Wait, you don't know.
What was that you said? The lips of a swine. What?
They say lips that touch swine will never touch mine. You know the
Oh.
Child, if you ain't never had the power of the bacon overtake you, you can't pray for me. You don't know. My struggle is different. You don't want people praying for you that don't understand. And that's what you think you can pray. Everybody can't pray for everybody. My conviction when I'm praying for marriages and praying for people, I'm praying different. I ain't just praying, God, please just bless their little marriage and keep them together and bless their family. No, honey, it's deeper than that. I know the demons. I know the little sexual demons. I know their names. I know what's going on. No, we speaking those things. Somebody that's having financial problems. You can't pray for me if you have never had a financial issue a day in your life. Your prayers are different.
Experience.
I need to, God, please send the right person. That's how I pray. God, please send the right person for this scenario. I don't need prayer generalists. I need specific people. And that's where that forgiveness work comes in, is that when God has forgiven you, when you have been forgiven, you move differently. When you have been exonerated, you pray differently. When you know what could have been and it didn't happen, you show up differently. And you know that if God did it for you, God can do it for another person. But you may be the conduit that gets that person to the other side. You may be the light that God is using to shine in their dark places. So stop being afraid to show up where it don't look good. To be things. I mean, drunk people, God, my God voice, drunk people, homeless people, numbers and words. How am I to dictate how God is going to use me? Because it don't look right to you? Who are you? So anyway, Leslie, we can wrap it up. This has been fun to me. I don't know. Like I said, I ain't even had my coffee yet.
Listen, we'll be back next week.
We'll be back. We'll be back.
I don't know. I don't even know if we talked about words and attitudes. We talked about attitudes.
We talked about everything. We did talk about attitudes. We had some attitudes in there. We use many words.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Thank you so much for being with us. Next week, I will talk about the heart.
You think that's what we think? That's a loose syllabus. That's a loose. It's subject to change. That's all of our topics. We go put the asterisk at the
I
bottom.
shut us down.
Subject to change.
He probably back there shaking his head.
Ooh, Mike, you know what? And see, this is the thing. Leslie is in Georgia somewhere. As soon as I get out, the mic gonna be like, "Come here, let me talk to you." It's not me. It's Leslie. Leslie be going down all these roads. I'm just following the leader. But I'm gonna get in trouble. So y'all might or might not see this live. He might take it down. He might edit it. I don't know. This is how I'm living my life.
Out of control.
I'm living my life. I have fun. I'm enjoying my life. It is what it is. You love it, you hate it. I don't care. I can't cut you.
Oh my goodness. Well, at least you had fun, whether it goes live or not. You had fun.
Amen. Amen.
So thank you so much for joining us. We hope you join us next week. Yeah, we're gonna go with the flow.
And we'll try to act right. And we do have a loose topic. The heart is what we'll be talking about next. Okay,
so enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here, Father. We just thank you for your love, your kindness. We thank you that you're humorous. We thank you that you allow us to be humorous. We thank you that we're here, that someone else will be delivered, that might get a breakthrough, might have the opportunity to really come to know you. Our desire is to see the kingdom built, not our will, but thy will be done. We just thank you, Yahweh, for creating, for Yahweh Elohim, for creating us, for allowing us to be who you created us to be. But now, as we leave this place, we will never, we don't want to, we don't desire to leave your presence. We don't desire to be here and not with you. Our desire is to be with you. Our desire is to follow after you. Our desire is to do your will. We ask that you forgive us for being slowful. We ask that you forgive us for or not being um, transparent with people that we think that are not on our level. Help us, Father, to see people in through the eyes of you, through your lens, that we would begin to minister to them with love, that your love would abide. You continue to create in us a clean heart, continue to renew a right spirit within us. And I know David said it, but we desire to be right in your eyesight. We thank you right now for all that you do and all that you said that you would do in our lives. In Yeshua HaMashiach's name we pray. Amen. Well, good day. Y'all go to church. Y'all go do what y'all need to do. And we'll see you next week. God bless you.
love you. Have a good one.